My future wife hugged her ex and said she marrying me for my money, not my heart, so I canceled it all, and the chaos that followed ruined she built. I'm a 34-year-old male who runs my own small carpentry business in a rural Montana town that probably has more cows than people. It's nothing fancy or impressive, just me, 2 other guys who work with me, and my cousin who helps with the books. I started out helping my dad with barn repairs when I was 16. Then I apprenticed with this old-timer named Earl, who taught me everything about real woodworking, not that prefab IKEA-type garbage, but actual craftsmanship with quality lumber. Slowly, I built up enough clients and reputation to strike out on my own about 6 years back. I grew up here and never left, except for a brief stint trying community college before realizing I was happier working with my hands than sitting in classrooms. My family's been in this area for generations, mostly ranchers and tradesmen, honest work for honest pay kind of people. We've never been rich, never been poor, just comfortable enough to have what we need and occasionally splurge on something special. I met my fiancée at the local hardware store, where she worked in the design section. She'd moved to our town about 3 years ago from Chicago, saying she wanted a quieter life after the big city burned her out. She helped me pick out some fancy trim for this rich dude's cabin I was renovating, and we got to talking. She was way out of my league looks-wise, if I'm being honest. I still don't know what she initially saw in me. Maybe the novelty of dating a real Montana man or whatever. She caught me off guard from day one with her effortless confidence. She looked like she had her whole life figured out, while I was just trying to remember if I'd cleaned the sawdust out of my ears. I wasn't exactly polished, never have been, but she never made me feel like I had to be. She didn't care that I worked with my hands, or that my idea of dressing up was anything without flannel. She saw through all that, listened like she actually gave a damn, and laughed like she meant it. Being around her felt easy, real, and for a guy like me, that's not something you find every day. Things moved along pretty normally from there. I'd take her fishing at my favorite spots. She hated baiting her own hook, but loved catching bass. She'd drag me to these community events where she somehow knew everyone despite being relatively new in town. I'd help her hang shelves in her tiny apartment, and she'd bring me coffee at job sites on cold mornings, normal couple stuff. She was always planning something, her next career move, vacations we should take, the kind of house we should save for. I was more of a see-what-happens kind of guy, but I liked that she had direction. I figured we balanced each other out that way. After 2 years, I proposed during a hike, nothing over the top, just a sapphire ring and a shaky knee. She cried and said yes before I could even finish the question. We set the date for June 18th, and just like that, I was knee-deep in wedding plans, stuff I never thought I'd care about. I mean, I build cabinets and lay down hardwood for a living, not pick flower arrangements or debate the difference between ivory and eggshell tablecloths. But she was glowing every time she talked about it, so I dove in. If it mattered to her, it mattered to me. I started showing up to every vendor meeting, asking the questions she forgot to ask, double-checking the contracts, carrying a notebook like some kind of wedding project manager. I even started surprising her with coffee before appointments and flowers just because I liked the way her face lit up when she saw them. Sunflowers were her favorite. We ended up booking this rustic lakeside lodge about an hour out of town. It wasn't 5-star or anything, but it had charm, big timber beams, a wraparound porch, and a dock stretching out over the lake where we'd say our vows at sunset. She called it her dream wedding, and I believed her. It was going to run us about $20,000, which had my stomach doing flips. But she kept saying, "We're only doing this once," and I was all in. I wanted her to look back and feel like she got everything she dreamed of, because she deserved that. We agreed to split the cost down the middle, with her parents covering a bit of the catering. I started picking up extra work wherever I could. Weekends, late nights, side gigs, sanding floors, fixing decks, building custom pieces. Some nights I'd drag myself through the door, dead on my feet, but I still made time to ask how her day went, give her a back rub, or drop off her favorite pastries when she was stressed. I loved seeing her happy, and if that meant less sleep and more calluses, so be it. I handled the logistics, venue contracts, rental gear, coordinating drop-offs. I even booked us a honeymoon cabin in the Tetons. It was all coming together. She focused on the details, dresses, flowers, invites, Pinterest mood boards. We had 1 week left and everything was set. I felt damn proud. Life was good and I was ready to give her everything I had. Everything was good until it wasn't. 7 days before the wedding, I'm at work finishing up this deck job for the mayor's sister. It's hot as hell outside. I'm sweating through my shirt, and my phone buzzes with a text from that girl Amy, who works at the same hardware store as my fiancé but in a different department. We're friendly enough. She's helped me find obscure hardware parts plenty of times, but not really friends outside of that professional context, if that makes sense. Her text reads, "Hey, I don't know if I should send this, but I think you should see it. Then comes this video. It's my fiancé in the store's break room with this guy Jake, who works in their contractor services department. I know him vaguely, talked to him a few times when placing special orders. He's a good-looking dude, always dressed nice, even though he works at a hardware store. In the video they're hugging, and not just a quick, friendly hug. It's one of those long, body-pressed-together hugs where you can't even slide a piece of paper between them. She's crying a little, mascara smudging, and he's handing her this small, wrapped gift. I can hear him say, "I wish things were different." She says something back I couldn't quite catch because her face was pressed against his chest. My stomach dropped to somewhere around my boots. I had to sit down on the half-finished deck, my legs suddenly feeling like wet noodles. I texted Amy back, "When was this?" She replied, "Yesterday afternoon. Look, I'm not trying to start anything, but something feels off." I asked why she was sending it to me. She responded, "That Amy girl was all in it. She's been nasty to me ever since I got promoted over her. But that's not why I'm showing you. My sister's ex did the same thing to her, had this emotional thing with a coworker while planning their wedding. Just don't want to see another good guy get played." I tried to play it cool, thanked her for the heads up and said I'd talk to my fiancé about it, but inside, I was freaking the hell out. 7 days before our wedding, and she's having teary goodbye moments with some dude from work? I couldn't focus for the rest of the day, nearly hammered my thumb twice and had to redo a section of railing because I installed it crooked. I kept thinking maybe it's not what it seems like, maybe Amy is just taking her petty revenge out of some girl's office drama. But it's a video, and it doesn't seem normal at all. When she got home that night, I casually mentioned that Amy from work had texted me, just to see her reaction. "What did she want?" she asked, her tone instant venom, like she'd bitten into something rotten. "Just asked about some lumber for her boyfriend's project," I said. "You guys don't get along?" "She's just jealous of everyone," she replied. "Thinks she knows everything since she got that promotion." I nodded, then waited a beat before saying, "So, how was work today? Anything interesting happen?" "Same old boring stuff," she said, not looking up from her phone. She was scrolling through Instagram with that glazed look people get when they're not really seeing what's on the screen. I decided to push just a little. "Didn't you mention that guy Jake was leaving or something?" She froze for just a second, just a tiny hitch in her scrolling, but I caught it. "Oh yeah," she said. "He's transferring to the Billings store. There was a little goodbye thing for him in the break room." "That's nice," I said. "You guys were friends?" "Just work friends," she replied. "He's been helpful with some of the contractor accounts." She suddenly got up from the couch we were sitting on. "I'm going to take a shower before dinner." That's when I knew something was up. She never showers before dinner, always after, because she says she feels gross from cooking. The next morning, she dipped out earlier than usual, mumbled something about an early meeting, kissed my cheek, and bolted before I'd even hit the coffee maker. She left her iPad charging on the desk. We had each other's passwords, open book and all that total BS. So I checked it, call it instinct. Turns out, no secrets only worked one way. I didn't find anything in her texts with Jake. They must have been deleted, but there was a bunch of back and forth with her friend, I'll call her Kara, about him. "Kara, what are you going to do about Jake? Her, what can I do? He's leaving, and I'm getting married in a week." "Kara, but you said he's the one who really gets you." "Her, he is, but he's not reliable. Remember how he disappeared for that month when his ex came back? My name would never do that. He's steady." "Kara, so you're marrying safe and stable instead of the passionate one?" "Her, a girl's got to think about her future. My name is a good guy. He'd make a great father and provider." "Kara, but do you love him like you love Jake?" "Her, it's a different kind of love, more practical." There was more. "Her, Jake says he wishes he'd realized what he had before it was too late." "Kara, so he wants you now that you're unavailable?" Classic. "Her, I know, but when he looks at me it's like he really sees me, you know? Not just what I can do for him or how I fit into his future plans." "Kara, and my name doesn't see you that way?" "Her, he loves the idea of me, the pretty fiancé who'll give him cute babies and make his house a home. I'm not sure he knows the real me." "Kara, the real you that's still hung up on Jake?" I'm trying not to be. I really am." My hands were shaking as I read this. There was more, going back months. Turns out they'd been meeting for coffee breaks several times a week. Nothing explicitly physical in the texts, but the emotional betrayal was clear as day. I was the safe option, the backup plan, the dependable guy who'd make a good provider while she pined for someone else. And just when I thought it couldn't hit any lower, I found this exchange from a few weeks back. "Kara, you think he'll ever leave Montana?" "Her, doubt it. He thinks building people's decks is enough." "Kara, that's sweet. Her, sweet doesn't pay for beach houses." She didn't just see me as safe. She saw me as small, like I was some soft-spoken handyman too dumb to know I was being used, like the life I built with my own damn hands was just some phase she was biding her time through. 5 days before the wedding, everything was paid for. My parents had already driven in from Wyoming and were staying at my place. Her family was arriving tomorrow. What the actual fuck was I supposed to do? I spent the day in a daze, trying to focus on finishing up a job but nearly taking my thumb off with a circular saw because I couldn't concentrate worth shit. My buddy Phil noticed something was up and pulled me aside. "Dude, what's going on with you today? You're a mess." I ended up showing him the texts. Phil read through them silently, his face getting darker with each scroll. "Dude," he said after reading them, "you can't marry her." "But everything's paid for," I said. "Everyone's coming. It's 5 days away. Better to lose the deposits than lose half your shit in a divorce in 5 years when she leaves you for this Jake guy or someone else," he replied. "But what if I'm overreacting? Maybe it's just pre-wedding jitters or something." Phil looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Read those texts again, man. She straight up told her friend that she loves this other dude more than you. That's not jitters, that's her settling." I knew he was right, but I needed to hear it from her face to face. I needed to give her a chance to explain, to tell me it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was some context I was missing. 4 days before the wedding, I asked her to meet me at our spot, this little pier on the lake where we used to go fishing when we first started dating. I figured a public place would keep us both calm, stop either of us from making a scene. She seemed confused by the invitation but agreed to meet me after work. I got there early and sat at the end of the pier, watching fish jump and trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to say. She pulled up 15 minutes late, clearly annoyed. "What's so important it couldn't wait till after work?" she snapped, heels hitting the dock like gunshots. She sat down next to me with a sigh, leaving half a football field between us. "I have a million things to do before Saturday." I didn't even turn to her. I saw the video. "You and Jake break room." She froze just for a second, but long enough. "What video?" I took out my phone and played it, the whole awkward too-long hug, the gift, the mascara smudge moment. Her face looked like she was calculating how fast she could spin it. Instead of owning any of it, she finally looked up. "Amy sent you that, didn't she? Jesus, that girl is obsessed with me. She's just pissed because I got the design lead she wanted." "I'm not here to talk about whatever drama you have with Amy," I said. "Explain what you're doing in the freaking video 4 days before our freaking wedding." "It was his last day," she snapped. "Jake and I worked together for years. It was emotional. He gave me a goodbye present." I teared up. "That's literally it. And I wish things were different. That just came with the gift wrap?" I asked. She paused. "You're blowing this up." "I read your messages with Kara," I said. That landed. Her face cracked for half a second. "You went through my stuff?" "You left your iPad on," I replied. "The same iPad you used to talk about how I'm the safe choice, the provider, the guy you're marrying because he's steady." She stared out over the water, like she was ready to jump in and swim for her life. "It's not what it looks like," she said. "Really? Because it looks like you're marrying me while emotionally orbiting someone else." "I do care about you," she said. "You're kind, reliable. You're the type women wish they ended up with, but I'm not Jake." She sighed. "Jake's chaos, your stability. You're the one who'd actually show up. He wouldn't even know how to build a life. You do." "Look," I said, "I'm not building a life with someone who's looking backward the whole time." Her tone shifted, sharper now. "You're seriously doing this 4 days before the wedding? We've paid for everything. Guests are already on their way. My dress is at the tailor, the venue, the catering, the music, it's all lined up. You don't get to just back out." I turned to face her. "I do when the woman I'm marrying says I'm plan B with a toolbox." She scoffed. "You think marriages survive on butterflies? No, they survive on teamwork, compromise, and picking someone who won't vanish the minute things get hard. That's what I picked. That's what you are." I shook my head. "You picked a fallback, a guy who wouldn't question you. You thought I'd just smile, nod, and pay the bills while you mourned some loser in secret." "That's not fair," she snapped. "I've been stressed, okay?" "It's a big decision, but I chose you." I said yes. "You said yes to security, not love," I said. "Oh my God, Jake, you're being impossible right now." Dead silence. She didn't catch it at first, but I did. "The last thing you expect is your bride calling you by another dude's name before your wedding." My jaw clenched. "What did you just call me?" Her mouth dropped open. "Wait, I meant, no you didn't," I said, standing slow and steady. "You just said everything you didn't mean to say." "Look, please," she said, "we can fix this. I made a mistake. I panicked. But we can still go through with it and figure things out after." "I'm not signing up for a lifetime of being someone's insurance policy," I said. "The wedding's off." "You don't get to just say that like it's nothing," she yelled, standing too. "People are coming. Your family already flew in. What am I supposed to tell everyone?" Tell them the truth, I said, voice calm as ever. You called your fiancé Jake 4 days before the wedding. If that doesn't explain it, I don't know what does. I stood up to leave. She kept rambling, things like, don't be ridiculous. Everything's paid for. Your parents are already here. We can work through this. I walked away. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. In my truck, I sat for a minute, just trying to process what had just happened. Then I drove to Phil's place because I didn't trust myself to be alone. The next 3 days were absolute chaos. First, I had to tell my parents why the wedding was suddenly off. They were staying in my spare room, had driven 500 miles to be here, and were excited about the wedding. Breaking the news felt like confessing I'd committed a crime. Mom, Dad, there's not going to be a wedding. They stared at me, confused, as I explained what I discovered. My mom teared up, not for the lost wedding, but for my pain. My dad, a man of few words, just nodded solemnly. Better to find out now than later, he said finally. They were confused but supportive once I explained. Dad said he'd never seen me look so sure about anything. Mom hugged me for a long time, then immediately went into practical mode, calling relatives who were planning to attend to let them know the change of plans. Then I called the lodge and explained the situation. The manager was understanding but said they couldn't refund our deposit this close to the date. Fair enough. I'd already accepted that money was gone. I also canceled our honeymoon cabin, but again, no refund. Another chunk of savings down the drain, but still cheaper than a divorce. While sorting through some paperwork for the honeymoon cancellation, I discovered she'd opened a joint credit card in both our names without telling me. She'd already racked up almost $8,000 in charges, mostly wedding stuff, but also a fancy laptop and a vacation package for next winter, a vacation I knew nothing about. I immediately called the credit card company, explained I never authorized this, and started the fraud process. Thank God we weren't married yet. It made things way easier legally. The customer service rep warned me it could affect my credit score temporarily while they investigated, but that was better than being on the hook for thousands of dollars of her spending. The hardest part was calling her parents. I'd always liked them. Her dad taught me how to fly fish properly during a weekend trip. Her mom always sent me home with leftovers and called me hun in a way that made me feel like real family. I owed them the truth. Her dad answered, "What's wrong, son? You sound upset." I explained what I discovered and my decision. There was a long silence on the line, just the sound of his breathing. "I'm sorry, son," he said. "She's always been calculating. Got it from her mother's side." He sighed. "We'll talk to her. Thank you for having the decency to tell us directly." I felt a weight lift, knowing at least her parents understood, even if they were disappointed. Meanwhile, my phone was blowing up with texts from her. "You're making a huge mistake. We can work through this. Please don't tell anyone what you saw. Let me explain to them. Jake means nothing. I choose you. Answer your phone. We need to talk about this. You're throwing away everything over a misunderstanding. My parents are furious with me. Is that what you wanted?" I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I packed a bag, loaded up my old van that I use for camping trips, and told my parents I needed some time away. Dad slipped me some cash and told me to find some clarity in the mountains. Mom packed me enough sandwiches to feed a small army. They got it, bless them. The day before what would have been our wedding day, I was setting up camp somewhere in Yellowstone when my phone dinged with a text from Phil back home. "Dude, you won't believe what happened. She's telling everyone you had a family emergency and that the wedding is postponed, not canceled. Her folks look miserable but are going along with it." Freaking weird, man. I told him if she wants to embarrass herself, let her. That night, my friends back home sent me videos of them throwing a single survival party in my honor. Just a bunch of degenerates setting fire to a cardboard cutout of a wedding cake in Phil's backyard like it was the 4th of July. They were making dumb toasts, to dodging bullets, to seeing the red flags before signing the papers. One of them said, "He literally pulled a full fourth-quarter comeback, baby. Down by 20, no timeouts, and still walked off the field like a damn MVP." I hadn't laughed in days, but that cracked something loose. It felt good to be the guy who didn't fumble it at the goal line. Meanwhile, more texts kept coming from her. "I talked to your parents. They think you're being hasty. The venue called. They need final numbers tomorrow. Everyone's asking where you are. This is humiliating. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Did you really cancel our honeymoon?" That was half mine. "I'll be at the lodge tomorrow. Please be there. We can still fix this." I turned my phone off and enjoyed the moment. The day that should have been our wedding was surreal. I kept my phone off most of the day, hiking deep into the backcountry where I had no signal anyway. Around sunset, when we would have been saying our vows, I found a high point overlooking a valley and just sat there, watching the shadows lengthen and feeling strangely peaceful. Later, when I turned my phone back on at camp, it exploded with notifications, texts, missed calls, voicemails. I ignored most of them but listened to one from Phil. "Dude, you missed quite a show. She actually showed up at the lodge in her dress, alone. Told the small group of guests that you had a family emergency but that you guys would reschedule soon. Her parents stood there looking like they were at a funeral, not a wedding. Her dad ended up having to cover all the venue deposits and apologize to everyone who showed up. She kept it up all day, taking photos by the lake, fake smiling through conversations. Jake didn't show, of course. I stayed just long enough to confirm it was as awkward as it sounds, then bailed. Call me when you can. I didn't call anyone that night, just sat by my campfire, processing everything. Over the next few days, more details trickled in. According to Phil, who heard it from his girlfriend who worked with my ex's cousin, small town, remember, Jake had taken the transfer to Billings a week early to avoid the whole mess. Smart move on his part. About 2 weeks later, her maid of honor, Sophie, who I'd always liked, reached out to me. She'd finally gotten the full story from Kara and was disgusted. I had no idea what was really going on, she told me. She made it sound like you just got cold feet, but Kara showed me the texts. I can't believe she was playing both of you like that. She ended up telling everyone in their friend circle what really happened. One by one, people started distancing themselves from my ex, not because of the Jake thing specifically, but because of how she handled it, the lies, the manipulation, the refusal to accept reality. Meanwhile, she'd apparently had a meltdown at work, caused a good scene screaming at Amy in front of customers, accusing her of ruining her life. She got herself suspended for a week. When she came back, she found out Jake had requested she not be allowed to contact him at his new store. That set off another scene that finally got her fired. The texts started getting nasty. You ruined my life. You could have just gone through with it, and we could have worked it out later. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what an asshole you are. All this over a stupid hug? You're pathetic. You had no right to tell my parents. That was private. I'm keeping the engagement ring. Consider it payment for humiliating me. I didn't respond to any of them, just forwarded the threatening ones to a lawyer friend who sent her a formal cease and desist letter that shut that down fast. The ring thing pissed me off. It wasn't expensive, but it had been my grandmother's, reset with a new stone. But I decided it wasn't worth the fight. Let her keep the physical reminder of what she threw away. For a while I just drove around from campsite to campsite, taking each day as it came. I worked out some independent contractor gigs through an app, helping people with decks, fences, furniture assembly. Turns out, there's decent money in being the guy who shows up and fixes stuff for wealthy tourists with vacation homes they rarely visit. I ended up selling the honeymoon cabin reservation to a couple from Utah who were desperate for a last-minute getaway. I used the money to pick up a set of premium cordless tools and a new rooftop rack for the van. Figured if I was going to work on the road, I might as well do it right. It felt kind of poetic, honestly. She picked the cabin to celebrate a life I'd have built for her. I used it to build one for myself. One night, about 3 weeks in, I was parked at a scenic overlook when a park ranger pulled up. I thought he was going to tell me I couldn't camp there, but instead, he just wanted to check if I was okay. Seen your van around for a while now, he said. Just making sure everything's all right. We got to talking, and I ended up telling him the whole story. He nodded and told me he'd been through something similar in his 20s. Best thing that ever happened to me, he said. Forced me to figure out who I was without trying to be what someone else wanted. That's when I started thinking about what I really wanted, not just what I thought I should want. The business back home was stable, thanks to my partner, who kept texting me updates. My mortgage was modest, and I had skills people would pay for anywhere. For the first time in my adult life, I felt completely free. And the joint credit card thing turned out okay. Since I reported it immediately and had proof I didn't sign up for it, I'm not responsible for the charges. She's stuck with the debt, which feels like cosmic justice after everything. My lawyer friend says that technically she committed fraud, but prosecuting would be more hassle than it's worth. I just wanted to move on. I did have one more interaction with her about a month after the non-wedding. She showed up at a campground where I was staying. Turns out she'd been tracking my credit card purchases to figure out my location. Creepy as hell. I was at my campsite cooking whatever didn't come out of a can when she walked up. She looked rough, sunken face, dark circles, like life finally stopped going her way. What do you want? I asked, not getting up. I wanted to see you, to explain, she said. She sat down across from me without being invited. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I miss you. Which mistake? I asked. Emotional cheating with Jake, lying about it, opening a credit card in my name without permission, or showing up at our wedding venue in a white dress, pretending everything was fine? She flinched. All of it, she said. I was confused, scared of committing. But losing you made me realize what really matters. Let me guess, I said. Jake didn't want you after all. Her silence was answer enough. You should go, I said, turning back to my dinner. There's nothing left to talk about. We had 3 years together, she said. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything, I said without looking at her. That's what made it hurt like hell, realizing I was just your backup plan. She broke then, full-on sobbing, loud enough to echo off the trees. Then, through the tears, she threw out one last shot. You're going to regret this, she sobbed. I shrugged. I'll pencil it in between laundry and giving a damn. And yeah, it's been about 6 weeks now since the day that should have been my wedding. I'm still on my finding myself road trip, camping my way through national parks, doing odd carpentry jobs when I need extra cash. I've found some peace in the simplicity of van life. Wake up with the sun, hike until I'm tired, fall asleep looking at more stars than you can imagine. And I can honestly say that I don't regret walking away. Some prices are worth paying for your self-respect. Currently, I'm waiting for my ex to take her revenge. Let's see what she's got. I'll keep you updated. LOL. The dude who canceled his wedding here with a quick update. After 3 months living in my van, I came back to town expecting drama. Instead, I got a hero's welcome. Old ladies were patting my back in the grocery store saying I did right. Weird, but nice. Business is booming, up 70% since last year. Some tech bro specifically requested the carpenter who canceled his wedding for his custom project. My cousin jokes we should use my almost marriage as a marketing strategy. The ex? She got fired from the hardware store after her meltdown. Now she's a wannabe Instagram influencer, posting as Montana Glam, all hiking boots and mason jars of wilderness tea. She moved to Billings, where Jake works, showed up at his store, and security had to escort her out. Now she's dating some older dude with a BMW and vanity plates. Bullet dodged. Turns out she had a whole revenge scheme planned, the one she threatened me with while she was sobbing. 2 weeks after I got back to town, my biggest client called, saying someone sent them proof I was using cheap materials and overcharging. The proof was doctored photos of completely different projects. She also created fake Yelp reviews, claiming I'd hit on clients' wives and abandoned jobs mid-project. The cherry on top, she tried to convince my landlord I was running an illegal weed operation from my workshop. It backfired when she got caught on security cams, planting evidence that turned out to be oregano in baggies. Real criminal mastermind. The plot twist nobody saw coming. I'm dating Sophie now. Yeah, my ex's former maid of honor. After she found out what really happened, she texted to apologize for believing my ex's lies. We met for coffee, which turned into dinner, which turned into me teaching her how to fly fish. One thing led to another, and now we've been together for 4 months. She says she always thought I was too good for her friend but never said anything. My ex went nuclear when she found out, showing up at Sophie's workplace, screaming about girl code. Rich coming from someone who was emotionally cheating the whole time. Her dad returned my grandmother's ring. He found it in her drawer, he said. We grabbed beers after. Some people don't change, he told me. They just get better at hiding who they really are. The credit card fraud? The company cleared my name and pressed charges. She got fined and community service, scooping dog shit at the shelter where my mom volunteers. Karma's a bitch. I learned that sometimes the life you think you want isn't what'll make you happy. My business is thriving. I'm building furniture for myself, and I wake up every day grateful I didn't settle for being someone's backup plan. Trust your gut, fellas. And when someone thinks you're their plan B, make sure you're not even in the playbook.